Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K?
I am doing amazing, just off of a conference weekend. And how about yourself?
I'm doing good. Yes. Yeah. It's been a while since we've been on together.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to be back live and in person with you.
Yes, definitely. Same here. It's just been a whirlwind. Yes. But I'm so happy that we're back together. And I'm also happy, October many times is such a difficult month. It's actually Domestic Violence Month of October.
Yes, it is. And Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, yeah, some of those heartfelt and heavier moments are in this month.
Right. And so I'm glad today that we're talking about something that is very close to my heart. It's about how unhealed betrayal can definitely, impact your life.
Absolutely. And sadly enough, not many people can recognize that it's there. It's still there. So I'm glad that we're bringing this up because it may open up something in someone to seek support.
Right, definitely, because betrayal comes in all forms, in all different situations, whether it's a health issue, an affair, just a variety of stuff. And sometimes we even betray our own self.
1,000%.
Yes, definitely. So, and we definitely have an expert. She's been on our show before, so I'm excited to have her come back. But before we get to that, we have a charity of the month that we highlight every month. And this month we'll highlight Lightening the Path. It's a nonprofit that really does great at empowering people and organizations to help people move out of poverty.
That's a great organization. And just thinking back 20 plus years ago for me, organizations such as that supported me to get me to a place where I can be sufficient on my own. So it's super helpful to have those around.
Right, definitely, because of the people out there, suffering and just a variety of different things. Many times your basic needs have to be met before some of these other things. So
Absolutely.
Definitely check them out or, provide some resources to them. So we're going to come take a break. And when we come back, we're going to really dig into what betrayal actually means with Dr. Debi. We'll be back in a moment.
In a world where stress and anxiety seem to be constant companions, finding a safe space is essential. Welcome to Therapist in Sarasota, where we hear you and we care about you. Take the first step towards healing and transformation. Contact us today to schedule your appointment. Your mental wellness matters.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Hello, Dr. Debi.
Hi there. Nice to see you both.
Yes, good. Yes, it's been a while since I've seen you. Yes. And so for those who are out there listening and they're like, well, who is Dr. Debi Silber? Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm the founder and CEO of the PBT, Post-Betrayal Transformation Institute, as well as National Forgiveness Day, celebrated every year on September 1st. And the PBT Institute is a full-service online space to predictably help people heal physically, mentally, and emotionally from betrayal. Betrayal of a family member, partner, friend, coworker, self, you name it.
Wow. Yes. And so I think that the National Forgiveness Day, is that something new? Because I don't remember that.
We just celebrated our second year, and it's such an amazing experience. We launch a 21-day forgiveness journey in celebration of it, and the idea was, could people go from angry, bitter, resentful to forgiving and free with intention and group support, with stuff they were hanging on to for years. And we've seen the second year in a row that by the end of week 1, people have forgiven just stuff that happened decades ago, and how free they've become, because it has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with them. But by them hanging on to it, they've been sick, sad, stuck, small, and they let go of all of it, and they become someone, they're just so happy and so free and physically so much better. And it's a part of the other side of betrayal, but a really fun part.
Right. Yes. So let's dig and get into the betrayal.
Yeah.
When you say the word betrayal, how do you actually define that?
To me, it's the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule, and every relationship has them.
Right.
And the way it works is, the more we trust, the more we depend on someone, the deeper the betrayal. So a child who's totally dependent on their parent, that's going to have a different impact than your best friend sharing your secret. Your coworker taking credit for your idea. Both need the cleanup, but much different levels.
Right, definitely. And as you were saying, a child who maybe they got neglected or
Yeah.
abused, or yes, and they feel like, hey, my needs aren't being met. That's a whole different betrayal, but that's a betrayal that impacts as you move on from one relationship to the next.
And yeah, exactly. And, typically we have these betrayals, but we don't clean them up. We don't do the work to heal from them. So we have repeat betrayals. The faces change, but it's the same thing. And that is a classic sign of an unhealed betrayal. We go from friend to friend to friend, partner to partner to partner, boss to boss to boss, and we say, like, is it me? Yes, it is. Not in that it's your fault, in that it's your opportunity. There's a profound lesson waiting to be learned. Maybe the lesson is, you are lovable, worthy, and deserving. You need better boundaries in place. Like, get it already that you're a great person. Until and unless we get that, we're going to have opportunities that look like people to teach us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I know in your program, you have a 5-step program of, yes.
The 5 stages was one of the 3 discoveries made in my study. Happy to share the discoveries if that would serve.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, sure. So, of course, you don't study something like betrayal unless you have to. It was after my own betrayals that I launched into this PhD program, and I just wanted to heal from my own betrayal. But then I did a study, and honestly, I was only looking for ways to help me heal so I could raise my 4 kids, 6 dogs, run my business. And when the discovery showed up, it was just like too good to keep to myself. So the first one was that betrayal is a different type of trauma. And then when you treat it like other traumas, this is why people don't heal. I had been through death of a loved one. I'd been through disease, and I was like, betrayal feels different. I didn't want to assume it was the same for everybody else. So I asked him, if you've been through other traumas besides betrayal, does it feel different for you? And unanimously, they said it's so different because it feels so intentional. We take it so personally, right? So the whole self is shattered: rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. So if you lose someone you love, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the lost. Life will never be the same. But you don't question the relationship.
Right.
You don't
Right.
question your ability to trust.
Yeah, when it's been betrayed, it feels like a knife in your heart. Or back.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It's like someone just takes a mask off, and it's like, wait a second, what? Right? So that shock to the body, mind, and heart, the shattering of the self, is really what's unique to betrayal. So I gave it its own name, the healing from betrayal. And now it's called the complete and total healing of your life and yourself is post-betrayal transformation. Like, it's because you create a version of you that never would have existed before then. That was the first discovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, what's discovery number 2?
So the second one was that there's actually this collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's now known as post-betrayal syndrome. And we've had 100,000 people take our post-betrayal syndrome quiz on our site to see to what extent they're struggling. And, we've all been taught time heals all wounds, right? Well, I have the proof that when it comes to betrayal, that's not true. You can't count on time. You can't count on a new relationship to heal it. It will follow you around until and unless you intentionally and deliberately heal it. And we have these symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome that people can have through life. Happy to share them if you want to hear some.
Yes, curious, yes.
Okay, because it would be really awkward if you said no. All right, so now imagine 100,000 people, and as much as you're going to hear the symptoms, pay attention to these numbers. Ready? 78% constantly revisit their experience. 80% are hypervigilant. I mean, think about how exhausting that is. 94% deal with painful triggers. Those triggers can take you down. The most common physical symptoms: 71% have low energy, 68% have sleep issues, 47% have weight changes. So in the beginning, maybe you can't hold food down. Later on, you're using food for comfort. You're emotionally eating. 45% have a digestive issue. And that could be anything: Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, constipation, diarrhea, you name it. The most common mental symptoms: 78% are overwhelmed. 62% can't concentrate. I'm just giving you a few. The most common emotional symptoms: 88% experience extreme sadness. 83% are very angry. You could bounce back and forth between those two all day long. 79% are stressed, just a few more. 84% have an inability to trust. Like, think about what an inability to trust will do to your work, right? With the people around you. 67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how.
Yes, so it reminds me of, I one time had a client, I could probably get a few of these, that was like 80 some years old. And she was so hurt by what her mother did. Her mother had, passed away, decades ago. But kind of like you said, she, throughout her life, she had an inability to really form deep relationships. She couldn't trust anyone. And even though time had gone by, she couldn't let it go.
Yeah, and that's the good news is you can heal from all of it, which was the third discovery. Happy to share that. But that's what people do. They, now think about this. Those stats I just read, they're not even necessarily from a recent betrayal. This could be, as you saw from your client, something that happened 50 plus years ago, right? This could be from the partner who broke your heart in high school. So this could, so think about it. It's like that person may not know, care, remember. They may not even be alive. And here we are decades later with symptoms because of something left unhealed. So the good news is you can heal from all of it, which was the third discovery. Those are the 5 stages, which I'm happy to talk about those if you want to hear.
Okay, yeah. So in the sense of being able to heal, because some people say there's just no way, and some people say, do I have to forgive to heal?
Mm-hmm. You don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. But the people who say there's no way that they can heal, they're stuck in stage 3. And when I go through the stages, you will see why people get stuck in this stage. And that's where the majority of people live. So stage 1 is, and I'll just give you a real boiled down version. Okay. Stage 1 is before it happens. And if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. What I saw with everybody was this heavy lean on the physical and mental, thinking and doing, right? We're so good at that, right? And neglecting or ignoring the emotional and the spiritual, feeling and being. So if a table only has 2 legs, easy for that table to topple over. That's us. Stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day, the scariest of all of the stages. Everybody remembers their D-Day. And this is the breakdown of the body, the mind, the worldview. Right here, you've ignited the stress response. You're now headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease The mind is all crazy. You're like, what just happened? You know, your worldview is shattered. All the rules, like trust this person, don't go there, trust this, and everything. The bottom has bottomed out on you, and the new bottom hasn't been formed yet. It's terrifying, right? But if the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay safe, right? That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most common place we get stuck. And here's why. Once we've figured out how to survive our experience, because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma we just came from, we think it's good.
Yeah.
Right. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we're like, all right, you know, we plant roots here. We're not supposed to, but we don't know that. And then 4 things start to happen. Go ahead.
On 3, I was just thinking when you're on 3 and you grab onto things, and sometimes people grab onto alcohol.
Yeah.
You'll hear it. That's exactly, because now you're here and and you know, you're just trying to make it work, right? And now the longer you're here, now your mind's like, maybe I deserved it, maybe this, maybe that. So you plant some deep roots here, and now because these are the thoughts you're thinking, this is the energy you put out. So like energy attracts like energy. So now you find confirming evidence to support this is where you belong. Here's where you join the lame support group, and you will actually sabotage your healing because you found your people. Here's where you may be healing. You're going to sabotage your success because you're afraid to outgrow your betrayer who's not changing. You see? And now we have all these symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome. So we're medicating and suppressing, and we're miserable. So to your point, we're like, I got to get through my day. So here's where we start numbing, avoiding, distracting, right? So now you do it for a day, a week, a month, a year. Now it's a habit, right? 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years later and say, that drinking you're doing, you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? They look at me like I'm crazy.
Oh, no, not at all. Yes. That's like their best friend. I counted them. That's it.
All they did was put themselves in stage 3 and stay there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're willingness, big word right here, you're willing to let go of all the small self benefits, you know, the willingness to let go of being right, having your story, having someone to blame, getting sympathy, all those, the victim stuff. You move to stage 4, you grieve, mourn the loss, bunch of things you need to do. Then you move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, you know, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Just even in that decision, you're turning down the stress response. So you're not healing just yet, but at least you stopped all that damage you were doing in stage 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 feels like if you ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, your stuff's not there, you know, but you're like, we can do this. We got this. It's like that hopeful excitement, right? But if you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You know, you take the stuff. It's like the new me has this in this space. You know, I'm not taking that old stuff, right? It feels like that. And what I saw was there's one spot, and I see it all the time. There's this one spot as we go from stage 3 to stage 4. If your friends weren't there for you, you're done. That lame support group, you're done. That betrayer who's not changing, you're done. So people say also all the time, what the heck? I've had these friends 10, 20, 30 years. Is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. If they don't rise, they don't come along.
Right. And not everybody's going to support it.
No, and people don't like change.
Oh, no. People only change when the pain is greater than the fear of change.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other people don't like it because they knew who you were when you were sick, when you were stuck, when you were miserable, when you were broken, we're never broken, bent. You know what I mean? So now you're making all these changes and they're like, I don't even know what's going on. And you've outgrown them, a lot of them. So anyway, when we've settled into this new space, we've made it mentally home. We move into stage 5, most beautiful stage, healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. Your body starts to heal, self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. We couldn't do that earlier. We were surviving. We're making all kinds of new rules, new boundaries based on the road we traveled. We have a new worldview based on everything we see so clearly. And the 4 legs of the table, in the beginning, it was all about physical and mental. By this point, we're grounded. because we're focused on the emotional and spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Wow. Yeah. I just even think in my own transformation, when a situation was betrayed in a relationship, how I even, like you said, I had to basically move and change things. You know what I'm saying? So I did move, got rid of things, worked on myself. Yeah. Yeah. And focused on me to get to that stage 4 and stage 5.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was scary.
And
of
it's
course.
interesting. You said you had to. Yeah, of course, but you said it's scary, you had to, but a lot of people don't think they can do that. And actually there were 3 groups in the study who didn't heal. The first group, this was a group, they had their story and they were sticking with it. They were betrayed. That's just it. They didn't heal. The second group, this was the group, they were numbing, avoiding, distracting. It may have made the day a bit easier, but they didn't heal. The third group, this was the group where the betrayer had very little consequences. So whether it was out of financial fear, religious reasons, that's a big one. Just fear of breaking up a family, whatever. They just tried to look the other way. I saw 2 things with this group. Number 1, a further deterioration of the relationship. And 2, this was the group that was the most physically sick.
Yeah.
Your broken heart can't take that.
Right.
But they were so afraid of the death and destruction of the old. That's the only way you birth the new.
Right. Exactly. And for me, I knew I couldn't. The reason why I had to move, I feel like I could not work in that same environment for some reason. Yeah, even though it was a romantic betrayal, but I couldn't work in that same environment, and I had to feel like I had to move. Yeah, but in moving, it was a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. It actually increased the amount of work. I mean, I have 2 offices now, and I was able to meet someone that I'm engaged to, but I had to take that chance. And that was very, very scary. And other people didn't really, why are you doing that? Why are you moving? I had to.
Yeah. And but it's that fear that you took on, like with my betrayal. Well, first it was my family and then it was my husband. And that was the deal breaker. And here I was, I'm like, I wasn't counting on this. I mean, this is never what I saw. But in this journey of now, I have to heal. I have no idea what it's going to lead to, but that's not for me. And I completely transformed, and then he completely transformed, and then we married each other again. I mean, I never would have done that, if I didn't completely move through the stages, and if he didn't crash and burn and completely rebuild himself. It looks like this. Here, I'll show you something. You'll never forget this. What most people do, they're betrayed and it's so painful and they're so upset and they're so sad. So they just keep going back to that person or someone very similar, right? And this is a life of stage 3. But the idea is, after that betrayal, you're like, I got to move through these 5 stages, and you do this. But what happens is, if you're so committed to this person, you just keep sabotaging yourself because you're afraid to outgrow them. But that's frustrating. You're like, this feels good, right? You're like, why can't they do this? Well, they're not ready. So the whole idea is, you do this, and then if they can, on their own, they do this. Now you meet up again up here. But if you're so committed to living here and this is the only place you live, this can't help but show up. Whether it's this person who says, I better step up my game to meet the strength of this person, or someone entirely new. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to rip the Band-Aid off and just take off, numb yourself, and be uncomfortable until the new level of height is your comfort.
That's it. But people don't want to be uncomfortable. And they'll do anything to avoid that discomfort. And I have a saying, I've been saying it my 33 years of business, and it works just about. There isn't a topic this doesn't work with. Ready? Hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's going to be one of those 2. And what most people do is they do easy now. Easy now, easy now, easy now. Well, hard later. There's no other choice. Betrayal, healing from betrayal is a full-on reckoning. And it's hard now. so that you can have that easy later. But when I say hard now, I mean you are intentionally and deliberately recreating yourself. So every time a thought comes in your head, you say, the idea is you take all the parts you love and you leave behind everything that no longer serves. So if a thought comes in your head, you say, does this new version of me that I'm building and creating, is this part of the stage 4, stage 5 me? If yes, it can come along. If not, I've outgrown that. So it's hard. It's hard because we're so used to who we've been. That's why people in stage 4 and stage 5, they're different. It's so beautiful to see. They start new businesses, new levels of health, new relationships. It's earned.
Right. And no one else can do the work for you. You've got to do the work, because it reminds me of a caterpillar. Like you have a caterpillar in a cocoon, and if you try to make it easy and open it up, it's going to fall flat. You got to struggle to develop the wings.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly. It's so true. And think about it. It's like that caterpillar is just so done being a caterpillar, right?
Exactly.
And what it goes through in that cocoon, it's ugly, right? It's messy. But in willing to go in being willing to go through that, it gets to be that butterfly. It couldn't be that butterfly otherwise. There's no easy way to do it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
The saying that you talked about, the easy now, hard later, or vice versa. I think about parenting and children. It's so easy to just go easy on, let the kids do what they want, let them have their way when they're cute and cuddly, and then they hit 15 and that hard comes in. And it looks like now you're betraying the child, when in actuality, for 15 years, you've betrayed them by not being that parent that they needed with the hard boundaries around them. And so now they're buck wild. It's hard for you. And they're also going through it. So that's a really good thing that you brought up. But in parenting, it really is sticking with me on that one.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I just recorded a podcast episode on From Betrayal to Breakthrough about, it's going to be episode 395. It's coming out, and it's going to be, it's called Parenting Through Betrayal. I just did this earlier this morning. So the timing is so perfect. And I was talking about how, especially as it relates to how do you parent as you're healing yourself when you're going through something. And I was really talking about you're the biggest role model for your kids. You just are. So how are you showing up? And in the times where you're not your best, and certainly when you're healing from betrayal, you're not at your best, but nothing ever is better than being real and being you. You're not shaming or blaming. You're not, throwing your partner under the bus, but you're also not burdening your kids with the details of what you're going through, but you're being honest. And like, I remember even in my own experience telling my kids, hey, this sucks, but I love you all and I'm doing my best. And it has nothing in the world to do with you. And you're seeing me crash, but you're going to see me rise. And I think as parents, we're so afraid of having our kids go through things. We're so busy trying to protect them. But think about everything we've learned. It wasn't from all the easy stuff. We learned our greatest lessons, from the hardest things we've done. So, it's true. It's parenting is a big journey. We do the best we can.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for providing that information. And if people are out there listening and they're like, how can we connect with her and get to know more about what she does? Because I know you also provide some free help and, of course, other type services.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, thank you. Everything is at the PBT, as in Post Betrayal Transformation, thepbtinstitute.com.
Right. And you help people get certified in that. And you do a free masterclass is what I'm. Yes.
We have a free masterclass coming up, and we have certified coaches and practitioners all over the world. Just 2 days ago, I certified somebody in Vietnam. We have coaches in Dubai and Kenya and the UK and the US and Canada, all over. And they're sharing the 5 stages with all of their clients and patients and helping people move through betrayal so much more quickly.
Okay. And let me ask the last question, since it was the first question thing we talked about. So we have the 5 stages, and then there is this part that we talked about in the beginning, forgiveness. Is that like the chair
Yeah.
on top?
Forgiveness is something, it definitely can be. And again, it's one of those things. Forgiveness can be a really charged word, because some people are brought up where, forgive regardless of what's happening, or it's in your best interest to forgive just because or whatever.
Right.
There are so many things that go along with it. It's, first of all, it's not a one and done. It's a process. It's a practice. It also has nothing to do with the other person. It's releasing the pain, the power that pain has over us, regardless of whether you deal with that person again or not. Forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation or rebuilding. So
Exactly.
really important to note that too.
All right. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you. Yes. And you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much.
All right. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, and we'll be back in a moment.
Learn to cultivate a deeper connection with yourself and your inner spirit in order to further manifest a more fulfilling, intimate life. Find your purpose in life, develop unwavering confidence, heal your inner child, and authentically live this purpose every day. It starts with you. Couldn't be further from the truth. Intimacy is not taboo, nor should it cost a fortune. Get your copy today. It Starts With You is available on Amazon, Audible, and...
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real.
That was a great show. It brought up some really important and great topics and things that I think will make people just say, hey, I feel like I'm stuck in this vortex. It makes sense why I keep attracting the same type of person.
Right, definitely. And when you have so much betrayal going on, you can't fully be present.
Yeah, and especially for yourself.
For yourself, which impacts the whole, we didn't really talk about it as much, but it impacts the whole intimacy, that connection. It
does. Just when you were talking about the betrayal that you went through and you had to just kind of rip that Band-Aid off. And I think about that, and that's how I was able to meet my husband and have a healthy relationship, because I literally said, I want to do something different. I don't want the same. And so everything in the beginning stages of our relationship, and it was hard. We did the hard first. So it's way easy now.
Yes.
I decided for me to do everything different so that we can have that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And if you're out there listening and you don't know how to do things differently, that's when you need to maybe read some books or talk to a professional. Yeah. But sometimes we don't know what to do.
Right.
So we need to search out who knows how to work through this process. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yes.
And so we have more awesome shows coming up. So on October the 31st, we have How to Heal After Being Ghosted by Greta Perlmutter. I don't want to mess that up too much. And then on November the 7th, we have Unexpected Love, and that's going to be with Dr. April and myself. On November the 14th, Race for What with JD Maz. And then on November the 21st, we're going to take a look back at Learning to Love.
Okay, awesome. All right, then. So we will see you guys next week. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. All right,
bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.